So I just spent the last 2.5 hours of my life researching creatine, and today I'm going to tell you about some of the benefits, negative side effects, some of the common misconceptions, and my experience with it, along with what is the exact protocol you need for the best results. So let's start with some of the benefits that you can gain from taking creatine consistently. Number one is strength. It's a 5 to 15% strength gain between 2 and 3 months. So that's like if your bench went from 150 pounds to 180, that would mean if you took creatine, your bench would go from 150 to 190 to 205. So that's a pretty much a free difference. Also, you can gain a lot of muscle. Over a 2 to 3 month period, it's about 2 to 4.5 pounds or 1 to 2 kilograms of lean muscle. And with your brain health, this is kind of promoted more than it should be, but there are some studies that show that there could be positive effects of creatine on your brain health, helping with memory, but that's just primarily for vegans and vegetarians who don't get enough natural creatine, older adults, sleep-deprived individuals, and yeah, so probably not you. So with this being said, what are the negative side effects of creatine? Well, there are a few drawbacks, especially during the loading phase, which I'll discuss at the end of the video. But those drawbacks could be stomach cramps, could be bloating, and water weight. So it's not a huge deal. They're very manageable, and usually they only last for about a week. So I've taken creatine before. However, when I got sick and I got a sore throat, I kind of stopped taking it. So here are my results with it. I took creatine for 17 days straight, and during this time I was having like a lot of newbie gains, so this isn't exactly a fair comparison, but my bench went from 135 for 5, which is roughly 155 1 rep max, to 170 for 1, so about 15 pounds of strength on my bench. And then for squat, I went from 210 by 5, which is basically 235 1 rep max, to 205 for 10, which is a 270 1 rep max. So quite a lot of strength on my squat as well. And so some of the things I noticed, especially during the first few days when I was taking creatine, is that I was a little bit dehydrated, because what it does is it brings a lot of, and we'll discuss it in a second how it works, but it just brings a lot of water to your muscle cells, meaning that you need to take more water. So I was getting a bit dehydrated, and after 17 days, I unfortunately got sick. So I was sick for about a week, and during that time, since I had a sore throat, I just decided to stop taking it because I needed, more water, and I did not feel good taking it. And so this is cool and all, but how does it actually work? Like, what does it actually do? So what creatine does is it works primarily in two ways, and a couple others to help you build muscle and strength. And the first one, the more important one, is that it helps you gain more, something called ATP energy. So when you're, say, working out and you're close to failure, the reason you get fatigued is because you run out of ATP energy and you just don't have enough strength to keep on going. So this gives you a small little boost, but a very significant boost, where you can hit 1 or 2 reps or deal with the stress during an exercise for a couple more seconds, which leads to higher weights that you can go to and just more muscle mass and gain. And then the second way it helps you build muscle is it makes your muscle cells more filled with water. So your muscles are already 70 to 75% water, and so what this does is it draws even more water into your cells, making them look a lot more fuller. So what are the common misconceptions of creatine? So a lot of people will say that it harms your kidney function, which is actually not true. And so what creatine does do is it increases something very similar called, or at least spelled similarly, called Creatine, I think it's spelled. I'll put it up on the screen. But what this is it's used in a lot of kidney tests to see how well your kidneys are doing. And because creatine causes you to have a lot of this, oftentimes doctors will see that, or people who look at these studies will see that it's a sign of bad kidneys, when that's just not the case. So there have been dozens of studies done from 2 to 5 years showing that creatine does not harm your kidneys at all. It is the most well-researched supplement in the entire world. And so even though that's the case, sometimes people still get things wrong. Some people will also say that, oh, creatine harms your liver, or it stunts your height, or shifts your growth plates, but there is simply no evidence to suggest this. Some people will also say that taking creatine means that you're not natty, you're not natural. However, this is not the case as well, because creatine, that's like saying that taking electrolytes makes you not natural, right? So you get a lot of creatine from foods like meat and fish. It's just an added bonus of this. Creatine is also naturally produced by your liver, so it's completely natural, doesn't affect your hormones, doesn't affect your growth plates, and it's completely fine to take. So now I'm going to tell you what the actual process is to taking creatine. So there are 2 types of phases. The first one is called the loading phase, where you want to get creatine as much as possible into your system. And then the second phase is the sustained maintaining phase, where you have a constant flow. You just take 1 serving per day as compared to 4 for the loading phase. So for the loading phase, you're going to take 4 scoops of 5 grams of creatine. And so usually when you get creatine, it will come with a little cup in here, and you can weigh it out and figure it out if you want, but it's about 3 to 5 grams. So just take 4 of those per day, consistently throughout the day for the first 5 days when you hop on creatine. And then after that, you're just going to take 1 per day. And there are 2 ways to take creatine. So the first way is the boring way, where you take a scoop, you pour it into some water, and then you chug that water. It's kind of boring. You only get 1 serving of creatine a day, right? So you might as well, completely go for it. Dry scoop the creatine. That's good stuff. So you can also take it like that. This is a more fun way. Studies have shown that approximately 50% muscle growth if you dry scoop creatine. So really the better way to take it, but yeah, there you go.